I know? And he will deliver us as we walk in the light as he's in the light. Who will deliver me? He will deliver me. And it's not by going, John, you're a bad boy, don't do that. That's not what I'm talking about. Jesus didn't become sin, receive all the destruction upon himself. Think about it. He became sin. What did he really look like on the cross? It was intense.
Yeah, come on.
But he didn't do all this just to look the other way. He's our salvation, not law, and certainly not carnality, which is what? Religion of the soul trying to please God. Religion of the soul trying to please God. God is a father. When we understand, fathers that have children will understand this. You love your kids. And if something was going to happen to them, you'd be there to defend them. Even if they're wrong, you'd be there to defend them, to care for them, to help them come into the light of what they've done, but you'd be there. And why do we think God is any different than us? This is not about a certain denomination or a group of people. It's about all of us in the Western church and our need. I can only speak about that because I'm not living in the Middle East. I'm not living in Latin America or in Russia, but I know what it is to be in the Western church and my experience there for 35 years, 40 years. And it's our need to be honest with ourselves by humbling ourselves and becoming as a little child, to become teachable by the Lord. He will bring us out of a prison and into freedom through Reformation, which is exactly what is in the embryonic stages going on the planet right now. He loves his bride, and we are his own, and he will have his way no matter what theological flag we are trying to defend. He's going to have his way. Most of us have never even understood the history of why we believe what we believe, where it came from. And so that's what Reformation is Jesus told me he was going to deconstruct before he reconstructs. And that to deconstruct is to take those things away that are lies and deceptions and came from paganism and had nothing to do with him. The religious structures that keep me imprisoned from him. They look good. They sound good. You hum a little tune with them. They're very nice. But the problem is they profit nothing. And so God really challenged me on these things. And we need to see something because we get our back up and get defensive to try to keep, they used to tell me when I was a little kid, there's two things you never talk about, religion and politics, because either one of those is going to get people feisty. Well, yeah, it does. And God chose to have me speak about one of them all the time. So what can I say? Joshua 5:13 and 14 in the Tree of Life version says this. It came to pass when Joshua was near Jericho that he lifted up his eyes and looked. Beheld, there was a man standing in front of him with a sword drawn in his hand. Joshua approached him and said to him, "Are you for us or our adversaries?" Now, that's kind of where I see the church today, and especially with the COVID and the politics, is they want to know, they want to draw lines and say, are you with me or are you against me? Is this right or is this wrong? Because God is for us. Well, I want to tell you something. This angel of the Lord said this, I'm neither. I'm not for you and I'm not for your adversary. So you want to know what he thinks about all this stuff? He's not for either of you. Why? He says, rather, I have now come as a commander of Adonai's army. Then Joshua fell on his face to the ground and worshiped, and he asked him, which is what all of us need to do, what is my Lord saying to his servant? What are you saying to me, Father? I'm not bringing my opinion to you. I'm not coming here to say this is what's right because I've sifted through the ashes of carnal thought. And what does it say? Earthly wisdom, which is carnal wisdom, is demonic. It can sound great to us, wise, and a great idea, and God calls it demonic because it does not come from the Spirit of God. So, Reformation. That's really, and you can go back and listen to some of the previous shows we've done. We've shared on Reformation and things the Lord has said. But today I'm going to show you what the Lord showed me within a few decades about the bride, where she is, which was me as well, and what he wants, where he's taking us into the Reformation, right? So I'm going to quote a couple of things I've said before because they're so good and there's so much light in them. On this journey, we'll be traveling far to a place that's nearby.
Come on.
Once you're there, you'll realize that you've actually been here all along because it's your mind that's going through the journey. Where are you right now? We could go through the science of all this, but the reality is, did you ever leave?
Come on.
Were you ever separate? It's the mind that fell, right? The mind, will, and emotions, the soul. That's why he came to save the soul, not the body or the spirit, but the soul. Grace is a place where you experience a power because you've met a person. That person is the Lord Jesus, the King of grace and glory. The power is the incomprehensible influence of his redeeming presence in all things. In all things. As you awaken, you will begin to experience Christ in all things at all times. It never stops. The glory covers the earth as the waters cover the sea. It's already here. It's the knowledge, the revelation of it that we will get. It's not coming. It's always been here, right? It's the way you perceive. You're looking through a filter and you're seeing a dead tree. You're seeing everything through death and decay. God is life. He's never been death and decay. He's life. The place of grace is everywhere humble men and women live freely to fully do God's will. That's where we're called, into that state. The pure in heart, it says, will see God. What does that mean? It means no mixture. It doesn't mean what the Puritans taught us. It means no mixture, no leaven. You cannot have religiosity in your heart and see God because he's not religious. We got to strip that away. God's got to remove the mixture from us, deconstruct it so that we can see. And then we'll see God because God is omnipresent in the universe, everywhere. I've always had a mission statement that was written by Elizabeth Barrett Browning that is what I set myself towards. And you'll understand me much better by this. All the earth is crammed with heaven. Every bush is aflame with the fire of God, but only those that see take off their shoes. That's intimacy, by the way. I don't wear my shoes to bed. The rest just pick the berries, the work of his hands. You see it with Moses. Lord, I need to know your ways. Not like the Israelites who just want to see the work of your hands. Is miracles enough? No, I need Jesus. I need to know you, Jesus, intimately. That's what this is all about. The signs will follow, but the fact is, it's about intimacy. I've written are the fruit of an unfolding revelation from the Lord over the course of about 16 years. It came from a question the Lord asked me one day. He asked, how's it working out for you? And I ask you that now. How's Christianity working out for you? I began to take inventory. And I told him, I was honest. No sense lying to God. Seriously, he knows already you'd be lying to yourself, but not to him. I told him, I believe in your word, God, but it doesn't seem to work. Now, we've given it 100 reasons why it's not, but none of those even mean anything. That's just justification for you not being honest with yourself. It's going to happen next week. It's going to happen in 10 years. Let's prophesy all these things. Sorry. No. That's carnality. The truth of the matter is the word of God works. We don't, because we're carnal, because we need to understand and move into this place of spirit. That's what it is. The Lord appeared in a visitation shortly after this, after he'd said this to me. And I heard him say, "Meet me outside the gate." Now, buckle up, because this is where it can be a little cutting, but it's good. It's good. He said, "Meet me outside the gate." I'm like, God, what is that? And when he's talking about the deconstruction of something's in me that needs to go.
Come on.
And what was he was speaking of what Paul said to the Galatians. "I'm amazed that you're so quickly deserting him who called you by the grace of Christ," we talked about it a moment ago, "for a different gospel, which is really not another." Isn't that interesting?
Well, the way he says it.
"Only there are some of who are disturbing you and want to distort the gospel of Christ." And that's what's happened in the Western world. The gospel got distorted. "But even if we or an angel from heaven should preach to you a gospel contrary to what we've preached, he's to be accursed." Galatians 1, 6-8. He said, "You foolish Galatians, who has bewitched you?" In other words, what kind of witchcraft have you come under? "Before whose eyes Jesus Christ was publicly portrayed as crucified. This is the only thing I want to know from you. Did you receive the Spirit by the works of the law or hearing with faith? Are you so foolish, having begun in the Spirit, are you now being perfected by the flesh?" Galatians 3, 1-4. Are we so foolish that we think that we're building the house for God? Are we so foolish that we think that we can be good so God would be pleased? Are we so foolish that we think that control, which is witchcraft, will work? That is not the gospel. That's the fallen state of carnality and created religion, a system. Paul called it a form without the power. Oh, dang, that looks like the West. So I began the journey. And when I say that, I'm talking about me too. I'm talking about me. You got to get honest with yourself. Like David of old, it's time to bring the ark of his presence back.
That's good.
That's where we are. We need to bring the ark of the presence of God back to the body of Christ, to the bride. But the only way that's going to happen is when we get off the high horse of religion in our own hearts,
Yeah,
and become that little child. So in the first dream was really weird. Susan and I had the same dream the same night that I got married. Now, you'd think she'd be a little concerned, and she was, that she was in the wedding party and seen the ring of the woman I was marrying, and it was bigger than hers. It was the commitment I was making is what this was about. And I was about to step into the ministry, and then God was unveiling the bride to me. So we dreamed the same dream, and it was about me getting married to a woman, and I was going to move into her house. When I was in her house, I went over to her house. She hadn't come home yet, which is a little weird. I went into her house. I was going to be living there now. And I noticed everything was orderly and in place, like a beautiful clothing store. You've went into a clothing store and everything's on shelves and it's all neatly there. Well, it was the same there. You'd open a drawer and all of her t-shirts were perfectly in order. Her socks, her dresses. It was unbelievable. The woman came into the bedroom after this, laid beside me on the bed. She kissed me on the cheek, turned over, and went to sleep. Very interesting. She went to sleep. I woke up from this dream and I said to the Lord, I don't know how you could take such a bride and marry her. I couldn't. This is the way I felt. She doesn't have any passion and she's cold. Just like the woman's orderly, clean house, the bride's programs were all in place and in good order in the Western church, but she had no life, spirit life, or passion for her beloved. She wants to do works, but she does not have that love affair going on. that takes priority. And that's why I said to the Lord when I woke up in the morning, I said, man, I couldn't marry her, Lord. Like she was just like matter of fact. I might as well have been, I could have been anybody. She kissed me on the cheek, turned over and went to sleep. It was like, I don't care if everything's in order and this house is beautiful and she's going to take care of me. I can't stay here. But yet Jesus wants to. He wants to change the bride from being in this place and wake her up. This is the story of Sleeping Beauty. That's what that nursery rhyme's all about. Is the prince wants to kiss her and wake her up because she's asleep. And she's got all of her things in order and she thinks she's serving the Lord and Jesus is coming back and all this stuff. But she's asleep in the light. Second dream came a few years later. This one was wild. I was holding onto the bottom of a pontoon plane. It's like a small plane and it's got pontoons for landing on water. And I was clinging with my nails to the bottom of the pontoons way up in the air. And then all of a sudden, came sweeping down into these fields of grain. And I watched the wind blowing the grain, and it looked like sea, the sea where the water's moving in this golden grain. It was gorgeous. And that it was ready for harvest. And as it swooped down, I could see the sun shining and the wind blowing. It was just so beautiful. And in the distance, and it's like as he came down, the plane came down, it's like I just dropped onto the ground and I looked. And there was a farmhouse on top of a hill in the middle of the fields. And as I looked at it, I seen a man dressed in black walking around the house. He appeared to be controlling the house. He was very cold, had no emotion at all. So I waited and I snuck past him and got into the house. And when I got into the house, I found a girl. She was somewhere around 15 to 17 years of age, sitting at the kitchen table. Now, 15 is just like she's just from 13, right? She's just starting into teenage years.
Yeah.
So she's sitting at the kitchen table. Instantly, I felt an overwhelming love and compassion for her. It wasn't that I was being drawn to her in some kind of sexual way. I just felt this incredible love towards her because I believe I was feeling the love of Christ for her, the bride. And so I sat down next to her. It was then that I realized that she was deaf and mute. She had braces on the top of her teeth and a bicycle chain on the bottom row of her teeth. At this point, I woke up from the dream and the Lord revealed the meaning of what I had dreamed. He had showed me that I had arrived from above in the plane. That's called in the Spirit. I came by the Spirit. And then the guy walking around, this was the father of religion. He's the one holding it captive in our hearts. And he just closed my mind off and he wouldn't show me. I'm serious. Decades went by. Then one day I was in my swimming pool by myself. I was just, before I went to work, I'm going to swim and I was standing at the one end of the pool and the Lord just spoke to me just like that. And he said to me, John, braces speak of correction. Braces are what you put on to correct your teeth.
Yeah.
And always being subject to the spirit of religion, which keeps her under law. She's under correction, under the spirit of legalism. She's under the whole Old Testament Jewish law.
Which has control over what she speaks.
That's right. And deaf because she's listening to the voice of man, not the voice of God. And so that's what that dream meant. And that one stayed with me for many years. And again, I was trying to understand, Lord, what can I do? So then in the third dream, I was standing near the farmhouse again, and it happened like 10 years later. I'm standing near the farmhouse, and I'd seen the same one as in my second dream. And I seen an unfinished wall being built around the house. So he's fortifying the structure to keep her in there. Again, I noticed the father of religion.
Come on.
But he wasn't alone this time. He had a beautiful woman by the wall, watching and controlling. And she was beautiful, let me tell you. Early 20s and very seductive because she began to talk to me. As I approached, she tried to seduce me and get me to take my eyes off of what was really going on. Her goal was to distract me from getting inside the house and thus interfering with the goal to rescue the bride. I woke up realizing that the bride was under a religious spirit and being seduced by the spirit of Jezebel through fear, divination, and control. That's what it is. There's divination, we'll call it some of it prophetic. There is prophetic, don't get me wrong. And I'm in the glory. In this dream, I'm jumping up and down. I am just blasted, and I'm speaking on Romans 6-8. And everybody had their head down, looking at the floor. And he said, John, I want you to lift their face and get them to look into my eyes. I thought the dream was, again, about evangelism, but it was actually
feel that, though.
About the bridge.
I could literally feel the vibration about that. Lift your eyes.
Yes.
There's a vibration.
Come up here.
That's what I believe the sound is. And you heard it when he said, come outside the gate.
Yes.
And it's not because the gate's bad.
No, I had to come out of the structure that I'd been imprisoned in.
And it wasn't
out
the
of that
structure's
house.
fault.
No.
It was just, that's not where you were going to become what he wanted you to become.
Right. So now I go out. He deconstructs. He's reconstructing. I thought about it was evangelism, but what he was actually telling me about was the bridge. It had to do with lifting his bride's gaze from unworthiness and shame to looking up into his face and seeing his amazing love for her.
Come on.
That was what he was telling me. Then he gives me these dreams. Then he downloads the manuals over the last 16 years. Well, since really 2011, so 10 years. And the manuals of the bridge. And that's what we're doing here on the belief. And so the manuals and everything I'm doing is, again, preparing a road for the Reformation. That's what this is all about. And it's just not me. There's people all over the planet. We're a minority, but they're there. And I'm not that far, but I'm doing what I'm called to do, you know? And that, whoa, that's all I'm supposed to do is
You can feel that.
hang out with Yeshua and let him build the house. Oh, that was it. You gave me a thought a moment ago. It says all things were created for him, by him, right? And through him. What do you think he's doing right now? That's what he's doing. Is it's through Christ and by Christ that the Reformation and the restoration of all things is being done. And it's being removed now from the mind of man who thinks he's been doing it. Boheme. He's a German mystic and theologian who lived in 1575 to 1624, which is 49 years. This is what he said. There be many masters to be found who presume to judge in the mystery, yet they are not known or sent by God. Therefore, their school is called Babel, mother of whoredom. They flatter on both sides. They play the hypocrites with God, and they also serve the devil. They call themselves the shepherds and pastors of Jesus Christ. They run, and yet they're not sent, much less does God own them. And what they do for their honor and their belly's sake. They're living for themselves. to make money. And they would not run neither if they did not obtain it in their course of spiritual whoredom and hypocrisy. In this time, a Zion verily shall be found. Come on. And the heaven shall drop down its dew, and the earth yield her fatness. Yet not so as for wickedness shall be wholly done away, for it shall continue till the end. For which Christ says, thinkest thou that when the Son of Man shall come, that there will be faith upon the earth? He's asking the question, Jesus. And through the children of Zion shall have a fiery deliverance, that they shall remain in spite of the will of the devil. They'll remain, insomuch that God will work great things, as at the times of the apostles. Yet it's endured not until the end, for as it was in the days of Noah, when they entered the ark, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. But that the Holy Ghost shall be in the hearts of the faithful in Zion, I acknowledge and I know it. For Zion shall not be from without, but in the new man. For Zion, in the new man. Where is the throne of God? In the heart of man. It is already born, he says. He that would seek it, let him but seek himself. Depart from the old Adam into a new life, and he shall find whether Jesus be born in him. If he finds it not, let him enter into himself and seriously consider himself. And so he shall find Babel and her workings in him. There he must destroy and enter into God's covenant, and then Zion will be revealed in him. And he shall be born with Christ in Bethlehem of Judea, in the dark stable, not in Jerusalem, as reason vain would have it, that Christ should be born in the old ass. The old ass must become servant and serve the new man in Zion. This is a theologian and a mystic from that many years ago. Think about that. That's 400 and almost 400 years ago now.
Wow.
So what is God doing? Robert Capone says this. He argues that organized religion too often encourages us to act more like subjects of a police state than fellow citizens of the saints. However much you hate the law, we're more afraid of grace. So that's kind of, if you look at the dreams, what we've been unloading here for the last year, and in part, it's about God removing Babel from us. Come out of Babylon. Let him come, and we shall sup together. Bring unity, bring love, bring heaven to earth, into our minds, and wake us up. It's beautiful, man.